Imagine a world where medicine doesn't wait for you to fall ill, where hospitals are no longer places we flee to when something goes wrong, but hubs of insight that anticipate our health before a symptom even appears. What if the very idea of treatment becomes almost secondary, and prevention is the frontier that defines the next century of medical science? It sounds like science fiction, but the pieces are already falling into place, quietly reshaping everything we thought we knew about health. How is it possible that sensors smaller than a grain of sand could monitor the subtle whispers of our body's chemistry, detecting shifts long before a fever rises or pain emerges? Could it be that the future of medicine is less about fighting disease and more about listening deeply to the invisible signals our bodies are constantly emitting? Consider the human body as a universe of data, each cell generating information, each neuron firing with purpose, each molecule carrying a message about our well-being. Traditionally, medicine has looked for the loud alarms: a tumor that has grown too large, blood pressure that has climbed dangerously, sugar that has spiked beyond tolerance. But what if we could hear the quieter notes, the patterns of imbalance that hint at future illness? Researchers are now building technologies that read these patterns, from continuous glucose monitors that catch deviations before diabetes progresses, to nano-sensors that detect cellular stress signaling inflammation before it becomes a chronic condition. Could our very concept of illness shift when we realize that the earliest signs of disease are often invisible, and that the most powerful intervention is foresight rather than reaction? This is where the mind begins to meet the frontier of quantum-level sensing. What if the body emits electromagnetic and chemical signals so subtle that they were previously beyond detection? Scientists are now engineering devices capable of reading these signals at the level of individual molecules or even single cells, creating what is effectively a map of health in real time. Could a wristband, a patch, or even a diamond-based sensor one day tell you that your heart is under stress, or that your immune system is preparing for infection before you feel a thing? It challenges the way we think about time in medicine, turning it from a linear story of diagnosis and intervention into a continuous narrative, where prevention is constantly active, and treatment becomes almost a safety net rather than a first line of defense. The implications for neuroscience are staggering. What if we could detect the earliest signs of neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, decades before they would traditionally manifest? Researchers are exploring biomarkers in blood, cerebrospinal fluid, and even subtle changes in brain electrical activity that predict cognitive decline long before memory lapses appear. Could the future of mental health involve real-time monitoring of mood and neural activity, allowing interventions that prevent depression, anxiety, or cognitive deterioration before they disrupt daily life? And if we can intervene so early, what does that mean for our understanding of consciousness itself? If our thoughts and emotions can be traced, interpreted, and gently guided by technology, how might that change what it means to be human? Medicine's shift toward prevention also extends to genetics and personalized healthcare. Imagine a world where a simple DNA analysis at birth, combined with continuous monitoring, could map out potential health risks and guide lifestyle, nutrition, and mental habits in real time. Could personalized algorithms learn the precise conditions that make an individual more susceptible to heart disease, cancer, or autoimmune disorders and provide subtle nudges to mitigate those risks? And if the machine knows our body better than we do, how do we balance autonomy with guidance? Could a world emerge where human choice and predictive medicine intersect, and we are both participants and observers of our own health trajectories? Even infectious diseases are no longer reactive. What if sensors and AI could detect viral infections in populations hours before outbreaks become visible? Researchers are exploring environmental sensors, wearable monitors, and predictive algorithms that create a continuous, real-time map of health risks at both the personal and societal level. Could a flu epidemic be curtailed not by quarantines after the fact, but by early detection systems that sense molecular signs of viral activity before people even show symptoms? And how might this redefine global healthcare logistics, from vaccine distribution to targeted interventions that prevent pandemics before they can spread? We are also seeing the integration of imaging technologies that are so precise they reveal the inner workings of our organs at scales we could not previously comprehend. Magnetic resonance imaging and advanced PET scans are becoming more sensitive, revealing early metabolic changes, cellular stress, and inflammatory processes. What if a tumor could be caught at the size of a single cell rather than a detectable mass? Could we learn to read the first tremors of disease as easily as we read a weather forecast and respond with diet, lifestyle adjustments, or targeted therapies that are personalized down to the molecular level? The future of medicine is not waiting for the storm, it is predicting it with astonishing clarity. This preventative paradigm is not just about technology, it is about philosophy. What if health itself becomes a continuous dialogue and dynamic balance rather than a state achieved after crisis? Lifestyle choices, stress management, nutrition, sleep, and even social connection all become integral data points in a living feedback loop. Could healthcare evolve from a reactive system into a collaborative experience, where the patient, clinician, and technology form a triad that maintains well-being rather than merely responding to disease? And if this approach succeeds, how do we redefine the purpose of hospitals, clinics, and care providers in a world where illness is anticipated and often avoided entirely? Consider the role of artificial intelligence in this new era. Machine learning algorithms can sift through millions of health records, genetic sequences, and environmental data points to predict outcomes with unprecedented accuracy. Could AI not only identify risks, but also suggest optimal interventions tailored for each individual's unique biology? And if AI becomes an essential partner in healthcare, what skills will humans retain as uniquely theirs? Empathy, ethical judgment, nuanced interpretation, and the ability to navigate uncertainty, all of which machines cannot fully replicate, may define the human role in medicine more than any technical skill ever did. Nutrition and lifestyle interventions are also undergoing a transformation. What if your diet, exercise, and sleep schedule were continuously optimized based on real-time monitoring of biomarkers and metabolic responses? Researchers are exploring the concept of digital twins of the human body, virtual models that simulate how different choices affect long-term health. Could we reach a point where we can see the effect of a meal or a workout on our cellular health in real time, adjusting behavior with precision that was unimaginable just a few years ago? And if the body becomes both the sensor and the simulator, how does that change our relationship with our own biology? Philosophically, this new medicine invites questions about risk, responsibility, and the nature of health itself. What if the absence of disease is no longer enough, and true health is defined as the optimal alignment of genetics, environment, and behavior over time? Could the healthiest people be those who manage not only physical parameters, but also emotional, social, and cognitive factors in a constantly informed way? And if the invisible signals of imbalance are detectable before they manifest as disease, what ethical responsibilities do we have to act, both individually and collectively, on this knowledge? The economic implications are equally profound. Preventative medicine promises to reduce costs by minimizing hospitalizations, chronic illness, and emergency interventions, but it also requires a rethinking of insurance, access to technology, and equitable distribution of preventative resources. Could a world emerge where health disparities shrink because technology allows early detection and intervention across socio-economic lines? Or does the risk remain that those with the best access to monitoring and AI-driven insights enjoy dramatically longer, healthier lives while others lag behind? And how do we design systems that maximize benefit without creating new inequalities? Preventive medicine also reshapes the doctor-patient relationship. What if doctors become advisors, coaches, and interpreters rather than responders to crisis? Could appointments focus on analyzing patterns, interpreting data, and guiding choices, while technology handles routine monitoring and early alerts? This fundamentally shifts how trust, expertise, and human judgment operate in healthcare. And if patients are continuously informed about their health status, how do we prevent anxiety from overwhelming the benefits of insight? Could understanding risk too early become a psychological burden as well as a medical advantage? Space for innovation expands even further when we consider rare and silent diseases. Biomarkers, genetic sequencing, and early physiological signals can now reveal conditions that previously went unnoticed until they became severe. Could conditions like certain cancers, autoimmune diseases, or neurological disorders be anticipated years before conventional detection? And what does it mean for the human experience if knowledge of one's health trajectory becomes almost as granular and predictive as weather forecasting? Are we prepared to live with that level of foresight? And what choices might it provoke in terms of lifestyle, career, and family planning? The integration of neuroscience with preventive medicine adds another layer of depth. Cognitive decline, memory disorders, and mental health conditions could be detected and addressed before they impair function? What if subtle changes in brain activity, sleep patterns, or emotional responses signal future cognitive challenges? Could interventions ranging from personalized mental exercises to diet and lifestyle modifications maintain brain health decades in advance? And if consciousness itself is measurable in new ways, what does this mean for our understanding of identity and continuity of self? Preventive medicine also challenges the very concept of mortality. If early detection and intervention become standard, could the average human lifespan extend dramatically while maintaining quality of life? And if science can delay or even prevent diseases that once defined the human lifespan, how will society adapt to people living far longer, healthier lives? Will careers, education, and social structures need to evolve alongside biology? And what ethical dilemmas will emerge as we approach these possibilities? At the intersection of AI, biotechnology, and quantum sensing, medicine is moving toward a reality where the invisible becomes visible. Tiny molecular shifts, faint neural signals, subtle fluctuations in metabolism all become actionable insights. Could the most advanced hospitals of the future function more like observatories, constantly scanning for the faintest signals of imbalance, intervening in ways that are personalized, subtle, and preemptive? And if the invisible becomes as tangible as a heartbeat or a fever once was, how will humans learn to interpret and act upon a continuous flow of health intelligence? The shift toward prevention also reshapes public health. Imagine communities where outbreaks are mitigated before symptoms manifest, where nutrition, exercise, and environmental exposures are monitored and optimized collectively. Could cities of the future function as living organisms, with sensors embedded throughout the environment guiding behavior for collective well-being? And if the boundary between personal and public health blurs, how do we balance privacy with the enormous benefits of early intervention? Ultimately, medicine is becoming a story of anticipation, insight, and collaboration between humans, machines, and nature itself. What if every choice we make, every habit we adopt, every molecule in our bodies could be read, interpreted, and gently guided toward balance? Could illness become a rarer phenomenon not through luck, but through intelligent monitoring, early intervention, and continuous adaptation? And if the frontier of medicine is no longer the cure, but the subtle art of prevention, what does that mean for how we live, how we age, and how we imagine the human future? This emerging era invites us to reconsider the relationship we have with our own bodies, with technology, and with the concept of health itself. What if being healthy is no longer a passive state, but an active engagement with invisible forces, constantly monitored, interpreted, and optimized? Could the next revolution in medicine transform not only longevity, but the quality of our consciousness, awareness, and daily experience? And if prevention becomes our guiding principle, how will humanity redefine its understanding of life, risk, and what it truly means to thrive?